Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Quad Shot Podcast. I hope you're having a beautiful day thus far, and I hope this podcast reaches you well. We are here. Ron T, how you feeling?
I'm doing all right. Not my best, not my worst,
Okay.
but we're doing all right. We're showing up. It's a Monday morning.
Yep.
Um, and we're excited. I'm certainly excited to be on the pod and talking with everyone today, talking with you,
Yeah,
man,
I'm stoked,
and just
man.
talking about how we're feeling.
Yeah. So
Um,
before we were on air, we were discussing about how we're feeling this kind of low energy right now, right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a reminder, if you are feeling this low energy as well, it's a reminder to give your body what you need to restore, maybe some relaxation, whatever you do for yourself to restore and rejuvenate your body back to a well-oiled machine. Do that, right?
yep.
Just a little reminder. But yeah,
We're human beings, man. We're the everyone has days like this. Maybe they look like they don't, and some people look like they're just always, in a great state, space, 24/7. I mean, that's just not the reality of how humans are and
yeah,
how we're meant to be. So
100%, man.
ebbs and flows, baby, ebbs and flows. So we're here, super excited to be back with you guys on this episode 13 Quad Shot Podcast. Um, I
Uh,
buzz of the day.
yeah, you got buzz today, but first, what are you sipping on?
Uh, we're going. I don't got nothing right now.
You don't
I'm
have
going.
any.
We're
So
going
you're
raw right now.
you're in a drought. Roan T's not sipping on anything. Very unlike you.
It's
Have you
okay.
had any caffeinated beverages this morning prior to the podcast?
No,
Wow. Okay. For you,
it's,
for everyone who doesn't know, that's very unlike Roan T to perform such an act. So hey,
yeah.
you know what? Maybe we'll get some uncaffeinated Roan T advice today. I'm stoked
That
to hear
might
it.
be a good that, and that's kind of why I wanted to. I was like, let me try this out.
Yeah.
And I'm probably gonna have a coffee after this, but I just wanted to see how I was on the podcast. Um, in a
With without a stew.
state of yeah, without a coffee, being uncaffeinated versus super caffeinated. So
So you're
just
staying
something I wanted to try.
curious. I like it, man. You're staying curious. I can't say the same. I'm sipping on my normal brew here today.
What do you got?
We got a chilled Matina lemon zero. Love this stuff. Really good. And
Okay.
then I filled up the Yeti too with the loose leaf
Oh,
Matina. So I mean, I need.
yerba, huh?
I'm trying to counteract the low energy today. Get my brain firing a little bit
Yeah.
for this
I mean, I
podcast
can
through
go in. I
caffeine.
can kind of go into why I'm feeling low energy, but maybe we hold off on that.
I mean,
We
no,
don't want to be too.
we can get into it, but let's start with buzz of the day first, as we always do. So you got it this week. What do you got?
All right. So this buzz of the day. Yesterday was it's Monday morning for me on the West Coast. Had had a pretty crazy weekend. Didn't have a lot of time for myself, and I know Aiden and I talk about this a lot, and we're trying to preach to everyone out there that you and I mean we're not the only ones that know this, but you've got to for me and Aiden. I don't want to speak for you, but I think I can. We just talked about this, but we need to have that time to ourselves to kind of come back to ourselves, be with ourselves, see how we're feeling, checking on our one another. And I didn't get a lot of that this weekend. I didn't get a lot of like personal time, like in my own space. So this buzz of the day um, came from last night. I rode my bike down to one of like the reefs, one of this little lookout area in Bird Rock. Just sat there for an hour, just kind of meditating, just in my own thoughts, in my own space. It was good. It was really good. But yeah, so this is what I came up with. Here we go. This is a quote. This is me.
This
This
is
is
a
buzz of the day.
Roan T original quote. Buzz of the day.
This, this is my quote. Life's hard. Make sure you have people around you can talk to. You can't go through life alone. If you are struggling, reach out to someone. Reach out to a friend. Don't suffer alone. People want to help other people.
Mm. Yeah, it is true. I feel like that's a lot of like innate nature. A lot of people they tend to give advice or lend a helping hand. At least I did this in my past before even helping themselves, right? Like people really do want to help other people. I think that's just built into us, right? Structurally.
Yeah.
We are here for one another, and that's a great point because we can't go through this life alone, right? We're social beings, we're social creatures. So,
We're meant to interact with other people.
right. And having a support system, like you said, whether it's a friend or a family member, is very, very important. And sometimes it might feel like you've created a space where you don't have that, depending on,
That's kind of how I,
right. Well, okay.
yeah,
This is perfect, right? Because you moved out to California, you're alone, you're still fresh, you're still new, you got your 10 toes down out there, but uh it's uh it's different for you because you don't have your family around you, right? You might have created new friends, but you don't have like the deep connections out there like you do
yeah,
back here. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's
So
that's a
that's
good
really
example of
what
what I was
came to
saying.
me on my little sunset chill sesh, I guess, last night, and just had some time for myself, and it's beautiful. Sat with my own thoughts, sat with myself, kind of recalibrated, and just however I was feeling, I was just letting it come in, let the thoughts come in, let them go out. But yeah, that's how I was feeling yesterday. I mean, like 4 months in now here. I think I talked about this on a previous one of our previous episodes, but it's hard, like I would say I have a small yet great support system, but I mean sometimes like you need reminders, and I think sometimes if someone's not reachable or someone's doing their own thing, they're busy, like I don't know, it's just sometimes hard, that's life though.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's like pull from the cookie jar. Um, so yeah, just had a moment last night. Wanted to come prepared with that quote today. Kind of came up with it, and I think it's a no brainer. Obviously, everyone knows this. Life's hard. It's not meant to be easy. If
Yeah.
it was, it wouldn't be as exciting as fun, right? It's meant to be challenging. It's meant to be different. Each day is different.
Right.
Um, so that's how I was feeling yesterday. Full
So,
transparency.
yeah, with that
Um,
being said, like experiencing, so you're sitting on the rock looking out,
Overlooking the ocean.
overlooking the ocean, you're sitting with your thoughts and you're experiencing feelings of um let's break this down a little bit. Are you sad? Are you sad that you feel like do you feel
I think
alone?
I felt a little bit. I just was sad. I was anxious. I don't know. I felt it's like one of those moments where you just kind of don't feel. You
But
kind of feel like a little
why were
like
you sad and anxious?
I still don't know. I don't know. I was trying to process that, but I mean, I did. I think the weekend was pretty like I said. I didn't have a lot of time this weekend. Like I was like go go go. I was drinking.
Right.
Um,
Well, okay. So, I mean, for me, I notice like if I drink and I don't allow like the time necessary for my body to like
recover.
recover, I'm in turn gonna end up in a state of usually it shows up in like depression almost,
Yeah,
right?
that's kind of how I
I
was
feel
feeling yesterday, dude.
sad about stuff and it almost happens like every time. Like if I go out, I stay out late and I'm drinking, like I can counteract it. I can do things to like bring myself back, but also like
It sucks, dude.
it is tough because you do want to go out and you do want to be social and you want to experience life to the fullest and you want to have fun and do all these things. You don't need to drink to do that, but like it's fun sometimes. But
Yeah,
then like for me, like the next day when I wake up, I'm like sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm operating at a lower capacity. I am being way less productive. I feel physically fatigued, which in turn I'm getting a lot less done, like being less productive. And I'm just like limiting. And usually it's on a day off because I don't drink if I have to work. So now like I drink and I wake up on my day off and I'm being less productive. That's the one day. That's the 2 days, whatever days off you
that you have
have
to yourself
for yourself, right? And now you're
to do things
operating at a
that
lower capacity
lower
when,
frequency, lower vibration.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So I think
just
that
putting that
definitely has
out
something to
there,
do with
it
it.
probably had something
Yeah.
to do with it, but also like you're experiencing emotions, like real emotion, right? Like, so there's obviously like a root cause to that. So you said you feel like you brought up like the support system. You can't do this alone. Like reach out to somebody. Like, did that have any like did that play? Do you feel like you don't have that out there? Is that why you're
I
sad
feel
or
like I don't. I feel like at times I don't have it, so I think it's hard for me.
yeah?
100%.
And it is
Uh,
different, like sending out a phone call rather than like sitting down like with somebody.
yeah, dude, like, yeah, 100%. So yeah, that's how I was feeling, you know? Um, yeah, I don't know.
Raw Roan tea.
Yeah. But no, shout out Sammy. Shout out Sam Barnard. Shout out Sammy B.
Barnard, let's go.
I no, I gave because she's in the area, and you know what's funny? I
Yeah,
don't mean to, be too. I mean, I mean, it's fine.
yeah.
But called her last night, and I was like, hey, like, are you? Because I was a little homesick this past week.
Mhm.
Um, and I called her, and she's like, wait, actually, it's funny you say that. I've been a little homesick too.
Wow.
She's like, I don't know. Yeah, and we were just talking about how it's difficult, picking up and moving 3,000 miles away. And at times, I think that's just natural. You're gonna feel like I'm gonna feel like that. I think it was the combination of not feeling like having a full support system, also the night before drinking a lot, um, also the combination of not having a lot of time to sit with
Reset.
myself,
Yeah.
go inward,
Right.
right? So I think it's a combination of things, but I think the reason I bring this up and we're on this podcast today, talking about this, that I think it's important to let everyone know out there that like that's normal. That happens. That's life.
Mhm.
If that happens every day, then you should probably
The chronic. Yeah.
get some help.
Yeah.
Get some help. Talk to people. But I mean, like that's not my everyday. So that I'm just here talking about how I was feeling and
Yeah.
um,
I mean,
what's life?
strong emotions will present themselves, right? And that's the thing
Yeah,
with like anxiety. It presents itself in everyone's life at some degree, at some point. It'll present itself, right? But it's that chronic, right? It's the when it keeps showing up over and over and over, and there's no resolution. At the root of that,
yeah.
there's an emotion or a feeling that you're not working through, or you're living from your feelings, right? You're making decisions based off of your feelings, or you're jumping to conclusions based off of irrational fears or something like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it is normal. These things do present themselves, and when they do, it's an opportunity for you to uh, break it down, get to the root cause, and allow
I
yourself
think
to
I have
fully
the
work
root
through it.
cause.
What do you think the root cause is, if you want to share?
I think I don't get fulfillment over not fake conversations, but people I know that I don't like. You go. So I went um up to a winery with a bunch of people. It was a super fun time, great event. Um, but I don't think me personally, I don't feel I just don't get fulfilled from those when you're intoxicated and you're having conversations. Everyone's your best friend.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
everyone's just so friendly, and I value a real connection. I'm a very deep thinker. Like I need that in my life. It's not even I'm just saying that just to say it. Like I need that. That's who I am, like innately deep down. And filling that with that space of people I cannot really truly connect with, and like especially adding alcohol in the mix and like going to the bar and dealing with like moody bar, like that just like it almost zaps my energy and it makes me just feel kind of sad. I don't know. It's like kind of lately, like going out, like that's been my experience. And I don't know if this is normal or like other people feel this way, but like I think for me, like I would be much happier like on a weekend, not drinking, working out, like drawing, reading,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
like
dude.
doing
You're
stuff like
tapping
that.
into yourself, right? It's totally normal. Of course it's normal. You're experiencing feeling like you're putting yourself in scenarios and you're doing these things that are fun in the present, right? Like you said, everyone's your best friend when you're drinking, you're out, you're buzzing. You like to be you're a social person, but like you said,
Yeah.
at the base of that, like you value that deep connection, and you're not
Yeah.
experiencing any really. You might meet someone
I'm not,
that
I'm
leads
not getting that out.
to
I haven't got that out here yet.
right, but yeah, dude, you have to do things like that and come to realizations in order to have like, okay, I like this and I don't like this, right? So now you're realizing, okay, maybe next weekend I'm not going to go to a winery event. I'm going to take the time necessary for myself and I'm going to do the things that I want to do. And to backtrack, to go back to what we were talking about, dude, I literally have experienced the same thing this weekend uh, in my own way, right? I made a bunch of plans. Uh, and actually, like one of my friends, I was sitting here editing clips for the podcast. It was like 9:30 at night, and I'm just like, I'm basically getting ready for bed. Like, it's the weekend. I usually go to bed at 9 on the weekdays, but it's 9:30. I'm about finishing up the podcast clips, and I, ate and showered. I'm chill. I'm in my pajamas, and one of my buddy calls me. He's like, "Yo, you want to go out?" I'm like, "Oh shit." So I said, "Fuck it, yeah, let's go out." So I went out. I didn't get home until like probably 1:30.
Yeah.
And I got home and went to sleep, but I drank not that much, but I did drink, right? And the same thing, right? I talked to a bunch of people. I actually not a lot of people that I knew, but I talked to a bunch of people, and it was very surface level conversations. Nothing like deep and connected that I value. Me and you are very similar in that way. So, moving forward, drop them off, come home, go to bed, wake up, and I have to be up, don't have to, but I chose to be up early to go to breakfast at my mom's house because I told her the day prior that I'd be there. So I got like a minimal amount of sleep and I showed up and I went to breakfast at my mom's. I just feel fucking shitty. I feel shitty, right? I feel like shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I leave and I come home and I look, there's dishes in the sink and there's laundry on the couch. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this shit. I don't want to do any of this. I want to lay down and do nothing. Right. So I actually took a nap. I think I needed it physically. But yeah, I didn't I to make a long story short, right? I didn't really like get anything done that I
Hmm.
hoped to get done on my days off. And then I had made prior plans for that night as well. So I had to like take a nap and kind of rush through things and be like, oh my God, and then get ready and then go. Right?
Yeah.
I came home and there's still dishes in my sink. So prior to the podcast, I had to I had to do my laundry. I had to do the dishes. And
Hmm.
all of those things I could have done, right? Prior. So my point is, I came to the same conclusion that you have. And basically what that is when I'm in my flow, when I'm in my routine, when I'm doing the things that uh I know are good for me, I'm getting all my things done. And because I'm getting those things done, it makes everything in life easier, right?
Hmm.
There's no dishes in the sink, there's no laundry on the couch. It's everything's vacuumed, wiped down and clean. My space is organized and I'm a well-oiled machine at this point. I can clearly think and sit down and start hitting my goals, right? And that's what I value so much about my days off is when I'm thinking clearly, I don't feel physically fatigued and I'm like a unit and I'm just driving and I'm gliding, right? I'm moving
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
put myself in nature and I'm going on walks and I go spend time with my family. I do things that I genuinely deeply care about and I value very much in my life. When I'm doing these things, I feel great. And in return, I am great. I'm doing great and I'm achieving what I want to achieve, right? Like in the book, we'll get to that, like micro changes. I'm doing those
Yeah.
things that I need to do. So, yeah, I mean, you to sum it up, you have to create that time for yourself, and it's different for everybody, right? I think I'm a little bougie, and I require more attention, more time, and I'm a little bit more sensitive physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever than other people, which is totally fine. Like I understand that about myself, and I'm willing to say it out loud and accept it. And I'm willing to also create the time necessary that I need to show up for myself in those ways, right? And if that means not going out to the bar and doing whatever and drinking and staying up late, then I'm not going to do that, right? Am I going to do it every once in a while? I think that's important. I think you should go do that, right? Um, I think it is important not only to realize how much better you feel without it, but it's like,
Yeah. I also say something else?
of
And I
course,
think I'm lacking this in my life currently, even though this podcast does create a lot of purpose free, and this is, my current number one purpose in my life, and I think for you too. Most like, I don't
Yeah.
want to speak for you, but and family and all that stuff. But I think with baseball, I always, and I don't mean to keep bringing it back to this, but it's just how I feel. I can't help myself, and it's just true. Um, there's always another game I had meant I prepare for. Like that was the obstacle I had to climb. I think human beings are meant to have challenges, have something they're always striving for. Unless like they get in this, like for me, do I feel super connected with my job? No. Do I feel connected with this podcast? Yes. But I think for me, I've always had something where in my life where when I'm good, I have something that maybe gets me anxious, gets me nervous. Like, okay, hey, a conference championship baseball game. Like, how can you not like that's a challenge. It's something that our human mind needs
Yeah.
to keep sharp and keep going. And I think I haven't had that over the last few years. So it's funny when you were talking about doing the little things for yourself, you're gonna feel better if you don't drink. Yes, I think that's true. But I also think that in my life and what I'm gonna look to, and maybe with some advice from you, like look to have something that I can strive towards. Like for example, the Fenway Park race that you did.
Oh, the Spartan
Like,
race. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the
I
Spartan
love
race.
that because I was training for something specific, right? A
Yeah.
goal in mind. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I just to sum it up before we touch chapter four in the Mountain is You, and before we wrap up, I think I just need to incorporate into my life like a goal, like milestones that I need to keep checking off,
Yeah.
in my life and challenging myself and pushing
Yeah.
myself on a daily basis. So that's I think also plays a factor as well because I haven't had that.
Right. So
Uh,
this is okay. This is a perfect segue into chapter 4. The Mountain is You, Brianna Weiss. So the way
yep.
I want to segue into this chapter, um, is so you said something, uh, that is almost like word for word. Okay, so why this is a perfect segue into chapter 4, what you were just talking about is because when you were playing baseball, you had that mountain you had to climb. You had that goal that you had to reach, and you were training for a specific obstacle, uh, or a specific event, to overcome and show up and be your best self. So you had these steps, right? But
Yep.
when we don't have a challenge, our brains are designed to have a challenge. But when there is no challenge, when there is no adversity, our brain is going to create one. Okay? Internally, externally, whatever. And this could be irrational. The creation of this challenge or adversity could be completely irrational. And the outcome of this challenge or adversity does not have that shiny baseball trophy that you're going to get at that conference game. Right? There is no achievement at the end of this challenge that you have internally created for yourself. Because our brain is designed this way to go challenge after challenge, it's almost like we need to set that for ourselves, right?
Mhm.
So you have a choice. You have a choice. You can either allow your brain to create irrational challenges or create irrational adversities and not really receive much on the tail end of that, which we've all done. Okay, there's no shame in having done that in the past or even currently. But notice it, right? And
Mm.
make that adversity, make that challenge something you truly want, right? By putting yourself, we touched on this on the last podcast, by putting yourself in the present moment, right? Allowing yourself to listen to your gut, your inner fire, your inner compass, create a goal, create a challenge, okay? And then create a structure to reach those challenges, a microstructure, step by step. How are you going to achieve that, right? And you do it in small steps and you slowly get there. You're implementing small things, boom, 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 one after another to get to that challenge. And now, because like the way our brain is designed, you do have a challenge. You are faced with a challenge and you are achieving something at the end of it. You are getting that quote unquote shiny trophy from the conference game, right? So I love that on chapter 4. Thank you, Brianna
Do you mind if
Weiss.
I? Yeah,
Touch
thank you,
on it.
Aiden. Hey, great segment right there. Great perspective as always. That really that now this podcast is is even helping me, right? So
Same,
this is
always, dude. That's why we do
I
this, man.
yeah, and I hope that someone out there is resonating, and that if they are, then there's certain things. There's always hope. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, and let me just read a little bit, you know, of chapter 4 that specifically lines up with what you were just talking about, Aiden. If you deny and reject any kind of real challenge in your life, if you stay in your comfort zone and you don't branch out, your brain will compensate by creating a problem to overcome. Except this time, there won't be any real reward at the end. And this is exactly what you're just talking about. There's
Yeah.
no baseball trophy.
So that's Brianna's
It
word
will
for
just be
word.
you. It will just be you battling you for the rest of your life.
Yes. Yeah, that was the quote I was referring to and trying to break
So I
down
think
in my own words. But yeah, that's it, dude.
and I think I just diagnosed myself.
Crazy. Well, dude, I mean, you sat with
Yeah.
yourself. You sat with yourself. You gave yourself the time to process your emotions. That's what last episode was all about.
Yeah.
Allowing the time necessary to process whatever emotion you're currently going through. And
Mhm.
sometimes the emotion can feel so strong or so faint, you can't even really pin it as sadness or whatever, right? But it takes time. You need the time. You need the time. So you gave yourself the time.
Okay, dude. I'm as I started this podcast feeling very down in the dumps, like not great. But now, you know what? We're finishing this podcast on a very strong note. And we're touching on a lot of things that are super useful for people out there today. Like I'm already feeling a lot better, and I know what I have to do to just be in a better place in life. And I'm a strong human being. I always pull myself up from the bootstraps. That is a
Yes,
nice
sir.
metaphor there, or analogy. But it could be easier on myself. I could be easier on myself by you know not creating these challenges within my own mind, and but rather in real life striving towards a goal. And sometimes you don't know, maybe this is part of it as well. I didn't know what my goals were, and I still need to come up with those. But I think, to your point, I think after this and this week I'm going to focus on, obviously I have work to do for my own job, but focus on a goal that I want to accomplish, and I'm going to set up a structure in my life to take those micro steps to get there.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about micro steps because this was a big thing in the chapter, okay? So let's explain this to the audience what micro steps are and how they can benefit from micro steps, okay? So what I want to do here is I want to touch on so with micro changing. The way she described it in the book was you don't change through breakthroughs, you change in micro shifts. These things take time and it requires patience. So she describes a breakthrough as a tipping point, right? You're not necessarily going to change into this new person through a realization of a breakthrough, right? But it's going to allow you to begin the process of adding in these micro shifts, okay? So this boom, you have a big breakthrough and you go, "Oh my god, this is what I've been waiting for." Now, what is that breakthrough and what challenges lie ahead and what structure are you going to build with these micro shifts? This is the big thing here, the micro shifts, okay? Because what you do every single day counts. Okay? What you do every single day counts, no matter how small it is. She says if you want to start meditating, meditate for 10 seconds a day. Start there. Okay? Because these things compound. And then once you realize the benefit, you're going to implement it more. And it's going to become second nature after a little bit. So I love this so much because I relate to this. I relate to this like crazy uh, with physical activity, with diet, with sleep, with consistency of putting myself in nature, right? So all of these things that I know are they're big things, right? All of these things that I know help me so much, but I want to implement them into my life. I want a healthy diet. So how can I have a healthy diet? I can shift one meal per day. I can shift one ingredient per day. I can start just as small as that. And now I've gotten to the point where I've shifted my entire diet through micro shifts, through small implementations and small changes. I have slowly curated this diet that is tailored to me specifically. and I notice that I get the most benefit from it. Okay.
Mhm.
And uh, why I love this so much is because I started small. I didn't set myself up for failure by having this realization and then trying to change everything at once. That is
Yep.
not how it works for me, and that is not how it works for most people. If that works for you, that's freaking amazing. But I slowly started implementing meals, timing of meals, ingredients, and I was playing around with it for a while. It takes time. You have to be committed to this, right? And commitment's a scary thing, and that's why these micro shifts are going to help because it's very small. And like she was saying in the book, change is scary, and when something, no matter how positive, is unfamiliar, it creates uncomfortability. And also, the opposition of that is no matter how negative something is, if it's familiar, it feels comfortable, right? So we can have all these self-sabotaging behaviors, or we can allow these certain people in our lives that play a really negative role, but because we've been around these people for so long, and like if say you're in a toxic relationship, we just allow it to fester because it's comfortable and that's what we know, and the change is scary even though you know it's good for you. So
Mm,
these
that's
micro
awesome.
shifts, man, the micro shifts are awesome. I really did like how she she just hammered that in this chapter, micro shift.
Yeah.
Okay, because it compounds. All these small things compound, and what you do
Mhm.
every single day matters, man. Every
Yeah.
single day. I wanted to start stretching before I went to the gym in the morning. So what I did was
Yeah. What
I
happened? What do you got there?
I woke up 5 minutes earlier than I usually do, and I just did a couple toe touches, a couple lunges, and I did like a bar hang, and then now I do yoga every
Hey,
bar
do you
hang's good,
every
yeah.
morning?
And now I do yoga every single morning before I go to the gym because I realized the benefit. But it was a micro shift,
Mm.
implementing it and realizing the benefit. So very important. I love that. What do you think about that? What do you how do you micro shift in your life?
Uh, all right. So here, I appreciate that question, man. Here's an example of a micro shift, and thanks for you for helping me, get this sparked in my own brain because I was lagging for a little bit here this morning. I was like, what? How do I micro shift? I think it can be in the gym. Like for me, I've micro shifted, started to slowly incorporate. Tuesdays I work out twice. Started to work out 3 days a week when I first got out here, then four, then five, and now I usually work out 5 to 6 days a week. So seen a lot of improvements with strength, um, cardio, overall well-being, stability. Um, so there's a way I microshift, but I think a more important way I microshift is in my mind, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, that I have anxiety and I have OCD. So I get OCD intrusive thoughts. I've been to therapy. Um, I've gone to therapy for it for years now. At first, I just thought it was depression. I thought something was wrong with me. And yeah, so slowly but surely over the years, over the last like 7, 8 years, I've slowly started to incorporate the therapy and the cognitive behavioral therapy that I learned at the OCD clinic that I went to. Um, and just basically letting a thought go in, let it come out. Sometimes it's that irrational where you just have to agree with it. So it's not as persistent. And so each day it's a battle. And it's, I use those micro shifts each day. I try to be better with attaching to less thoughts, less thoughts, doing more things physical activity wise, where I can have those moments of stillness,
Mhm.
and coming back to myself. So that's a way I micro shift for sure. And I'll always micro shift in that way. So
Yeah,
I
so
just think,
slowly like implementing ways to help you find like mental clarity and like
yeah,
still more stillness in your brain. I love
yeah,
that. I love that. Um, so what do you, I want to bring up something uh that she touched on the book. And the way that she described it is when we think of that big achievement that we want, right? That big goal we have in mind. We think of it as something like a get out of life like life becomes easier. Life becomes unicorns and pixies and gold at the end of the rainbow, right? So once you achieve that goal, finally, now everything is amazing. And she says usually that's not the case, right? Um, and she also described how humans usually feel at the end of an achievement, right? Or when you finally do achieve it, it's not that bliss that you have had expected. Um, I thought that was really interesting that she touched on. Like it's obviously something you care deeply about. You're passionate about it. You set up a structure to achieve it, and now you finally achieved it, right? Uh, she's not saying don't achieve it. She's just saying don't have the expectation that this is gonna be your saving grace, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not. It's not, right? It's an achievement. You checked it off the list and you should be proud of yourself and you should give yourself the credit that you deserve, right? And then absorb all that knowledge and everything you learned through that process of achieving it, right? But it's you can't look at it as your answer in life. You can't look at it as
Yeah.
like because that's a self-sabotaging uh
Yeah, and
thing.
unless you're gonna be pretty unhappy, unfulfilled with yourself. I mean, yeah,
Right.
you might have that immediate like, "Oh, this is amazing! Like, I achieved my goal." Give you that boost of confidence, but then after weeks, and you start coming back to your everyday life, you think it's just gonna completely change everything, and you're not gonna have to worry anymore. Like, but we're still gonna carry that, carry the load, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
doesn't end. Life doesn't end there. It doesn't stop. Like, all your worries don't just vanish, or
Right.
all your
So
your problems. You know?
she described it like at the end or at the result of achieving something amazing comes change, right? And
Hmm.
she has been very persistent with saying this over and over and over is no matter how positive the change, you're still gonna feel uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
even when you do achieve this amazing task, you feel uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, it's
Because
different.
it's different.
Like
And if you're not equipped with the knowledge and the mechanisms
the
necessary to
foundation that you've built through microchips to get there, if you're not well
exactly,
equipped, that just
exactly,
shows up. It's like a lot of young stars in the movie industry, right? They'll get famous, they'll get rich, maybe just off looks, and they'll be, have a great role. I think the guy like McAllister from Home Alone, like got super rich, famous all of a sudden, and but they never had that like structure or that suffering or any of that like not suffering, but any of they didn't have that low like that not low that slow road to get where they like to build that success later in life. They
right,
got it all at once and all that instant gratification. Then they didn't know how to deal with it, so they then used outside external uh, matters to handle that and kind of escape.
yeah,
But obviously that leads down another bad road. So that's like kind of similar
right,
to
yeah.
like
No,
one
that's a
big
great
accomplishment or
example.
event. Yeah.
That's a great example. Um, dude, when she
What?
talked about worrying, when she talked about
Hmm.
worry, like I've always like when I was younger, I realized this like out of the I forget what caused it, like something in particular, but I just remember like always telling my friends like, dude, why are you even worried about that? It's such a useless feeling. Like that's always what I would say. Like it's just useless. Why do you worry? It's useless. And I think that was me telling myself that as well because I tend to
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tend to worry a lot. But
Yep.
the way that she described worrying is the weakest defense mechanism, right? Worrying is what we do when we care about something so much that we are equally as terrified that it will hurt us. Uh, and I think worrying, right? We talked about this last podcast as well. Like when you have something uh coming up in the future, right? Let's say it's just like a work event for you. Let's say you have a work event and you have to make a presentation and you spend the leading week worrying about how you're going to perform. Worrying, feeling anxious, um creating scenarios of like people casting judgment on your performance. Okay. And then if let's say you spend your week doing that, imagine how you perform. But on the other side, if you have same scenario, but you spent a week preparing yourself. And when you notice worry
Hmm.
come up, you say, okay, worry just came up. This isn't really going to help me right now. Take a deep breath,
No.
breathe it out, release it. Let me get back to my preparation. Let me get back to focusing on the task at hand. And so that's what you do, right? So that's what you do. And now imagine how you're going to perform at that event.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big difference. There's gonna be it's you know. So I loved that she brought that up because I really do
Worrying.
agree with that.
Yeah, worrying sensitizes us to an infinity of negative possible outcomes. It almost like gets us prepared to feel that negative outcome,
Right.
right? So the reality is that worrying does not protect us in the way that we think it might. We cannot beat fear to the finish line, right? So you got to accept that you might feel fear, and that's okay. But
Mhm.
that's you put in the work to in like understand that, like prep for say it, what you're talking about, and you just let it roll off,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
roll off your tongue, let it go.
Yep.
So, um, yeah, good stuff.
So yes, this chapter, to sum it up, really, I mean, those were like my big takeaways from it, your big takeaways from it, right? But the whole basis of this chapter, the whole structure of this chapter was creating emotional intelligence. And the way that she describes emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, interpret, and respond to your emotions in an enlightened or healthy way. So that's what this whole chapter was about, right? And creating emotional intelligence is going to help you reach that clarity, right? So last chapter we talked about all of the emotions that might come up and the root causes and what might be like the takeaways from them, but this is emotional intelligence. So this is like separating it almost, right? This is the tools you need to deal with those emotions. And I thought it was really interesting. So I guess my biggest takeaway from this chapter was the micro shifts. I mean, because it resonated with me so much. It's like putting a word to something that I implemented without, because I failed over and over and over in my life, man. I have I've been at rock bottom. I've put myself through the ringer. I've treated my body like fucking shit. I have done things to myself and other people that I would never do now, ever, ever, right? So I've been there, man. I've fucking been there. And it's hard to have gone through the process of acceptance and, you know, like that was me. I accept it. That was a hard process for me, but I had to do it, right? And through this trial and error process of hitting a breakthrough and trying to change all at once and then having everything just shatter underneath you, that's a fucking defeating process, man. That can
Yeah.
beat you down into fucking pulp. That can make you feel like you can't do anything.
Mhm.
Okay? And if you have felt this, you are not alone. This is real. This happens all the time to people. So it's okay, first of all. But second of all, I had to get to a point in my life where I needed to change the way that I approached the goals that I want to reach. And that was by micro shifting. That was slowly implementing things step by step, being careful and cautious and caring in the way that I operate and approach the certain goal that I want to achieve. And slowly, over time, day after day, doing these things, I'm compounding it. I'm solidifying it. I'm being consistent, right? She said, if you want to do meditation, I'm going to bring this up again. If you want to meditate 10 seconds, that compounds, right? It's not hard. It's not hard. You don't need the instant gratification of a giant shift, realization, all in that moment. That is not how life works. You need to put in the time necessary. And I know that micro shifting is hard because it does take a lot of time, but you are fucking worth it. You are worth every single second. You are worth every single failure, and you are worth every single achievement. Love yourself. You're an amazing person. Tell yourself that every day. Okay? This life that we have, this opportunity, it's a beautiful thing. And I want to end the podcast there. Roan T, baby, my man. I love you, dog. I know that.
Love you too, brother.
I know we're both kind of going through it right now, but I appreciate you being here today, showing up and giving your insights as always. I know I say that every podcast, and I'm going to continue to say it.
Hey, man, right back at you. Thanks for holding it down. Fucking great stuff from the pod today. Appreciate your wisdom, and everything that you had to say today. It helped me for sure. So I appreciate you. And I'm going to start taking that advice and everything that we talked about and using that in my own life because um, I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to continue to feel this way. Like, and there's certain things like action, you've got to take action. So appreciate you. Episode 13. It was an interesting one, a little different.
A little spicy today, a little spicy.
Yeah, it was. You got what you got, man. You got Roan where I was. Yeah,
Roan T, baby.
Not at my best, but hey.
Hey, Squad Shot Podcast. I'm glad we got in here as well. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. We appreciate you guys, our little community. We love you. We've received a few interactions on our website on the contact us, and I just want to say thank you guys. We love you. Much appreciated. All the feedback, all the constructive criticism, all the insights that you guys bring to the table. We hold value to that, and we appreciate it very much. So thank you for your continued support. And every week, to the best of our ability, we're gonna keep showing up for you guys, right? We're gonna keep showing up for ourselves. So, Quad Shot Podcast, baby, episode 13. Signing off. Have a beautiful week. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate it, guys.